It's a grind, and anyone that thinks like, it's built into that 9 to 5 mentality will never make it. It will never work. You can't do that. It just won't work. You need to be so passionate about your idea that it keeps you up until 3 a.m. and you're excited to work on it. It really pays off when you see the traction and the progress, and you see customers coming in, using your product, giving you testimonials, saying, I love what you've built. It's really rewarding, and that, that, at least for me, really motivates me to keep
100%.
building, growing it.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the E-Formula podcast. I have a really special guest in the house today. Yash, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Pleasure to be here.
Amazing. We met about, you remember when we met with at the Jacuzzi?
Yeah.
It was like maybe 2 years ago.
About 2 years ago.
And we just brush, catch up a little bit, and ever since we've just been saying hi to each other until the event that I have here, and you pulled up, and I really got to learn more about you, and I was just blown away with the amount of things that you was able to do at such a young age. And I'm excited. I know a lot of people here will be inspired by your story and everything that you have done so far. So when did all this started?
So basically started, to give you a little bit of background on myself, I started kind of in the entrepreneurial startup space when first thing I did was when I was 14 years old. When I was in high school, I had an idea to work on something called protein gum. And that was the first, business idea that I had that I actively started working on. I was about a freshman in high school at that time. And basically, I was a wrestler throughout high school, and, basically after every one of our practices, I would, drink a protein shake. And everyone's stomach would be getting full, and it's not the most tasty thing in the world. So basically had the idea of saying, hey, what if we made this a gum that you can just chew for the rest of the day, or even while you're just walking or doing work.
Oh, wow.
You can be getting protein while you do so. So that was the first business I started. Basically created a product there, got chemists to actually create the formula for it, and had a functioning product. Now at that time I was might have been a little too young, so it was harder for me to actually get that one to market, but it gave me, that was what really gave me the foundation for, I went through all the steps, created a business plan, pitch deck, and I understood, what it takes to actually get a company started, right? So then the second project I worked on was also in high school, called Rental, and that was the first Rent-All, yeah.
Rent-All,
yeah.
Okay.
And so that was the first actual product that I launched, which was basically a marketplace, a peer-to-peer marketplace where you could rent belongings off of one another. So say you have this microphone laying around, or a speaker system that you're not using every day, you could rent that out to other people for $20 or $50 a day, and essentially start making some passive income off of whatever you have laying around in your house that you're not using actively. So that was the first product I created, and essentially, that's what really got me understanding, okay, this is how you create a tech company. And when I went to college, wasn't able to work on that full time and do college at the same time. So, I essentially knew, okay, I'm going to be creating my own company, but until that point, I want to get some more experience working with companies that have, reached out of that startup phase where they've gone to, $1 million a year in revenue, $2 million a year in revenue. And I can see how their team is functioning, how they built that team, the journey they've kind of taken to reach that point. So I went and worked in venture capital for about 3 years while I was in college.
Oh, nice.
Started as summer intern, and then ended up working full time while I was in school for some of these funds. First one was Storm Ventures, based out of Silicon Valley in Menlo Park. So I was there for about 2 years, and then I worked at MBX Capital, which was based out of New York City, another early stage fund. And that gave me a tremendous amount of experience. I was working and meeting with entrepreneurs who, some of them just started this company but have had 5 successful exits in the past. Some of them were brand new founders that, found a lot of traction, had a great idea and knew how to execute it, and they're doing $10 million a year in revenue with their business. And that gave me, kind of both perspectives of, okay, now I understand. I already understand how to do the whole startup phase of creating the company, and then now I can see what that growth to market fit looks like and kind of how to get there.
Wow.
So during the pandemic, I was still in school at the time. I was a senior in college at Emory University in Atlanta. Saw this was during the pandemic. Basically, social media platforms were really rising,
Yeah.
and primarily TikTok. And I was, kind of looking for new verticals for my VC fund on where we can be investing and what's kind of growing right now. And the celebrity monetization space was really growing. Companies like Cameo, Patreon, OnlyFans were really making a lot of progress at that time. Basically, I was doing a market map on the celebrity monetization space, and at the same time, I would, people were blowing up left and right on TikTok, and I would see influencers that had, 1 million followers, 1.2 million followers, but they had their Venmo or Cash App link in their bio, and that's what was shocking to me, because I can guarantee if either of us had 1.5 million followers, we've got some sort of business built around it, if not, an empire,
100%.
right? So that's where I realized, wow, a lot of people are able to build these brands out of nowhere. And they have no idea how to monetize.
Monetize it.
And I did a ton of market research, interviewed over 100 people, 100 different influencers at that time. That's kind of what the focus was when we first started the business. And I found out that 88% of influencers make less than $50,000 a year, despite the lifestyle that they're showing on the internet. Half the stuff they're doing on their Instagram story they're getting for free.
Yeah.
But when it comes to their actual income, they can't even really make a full-time income off of that. And that's kind of what was really shocking to me. And I said, okay, there's an immediate need for this kind of product. So basically, that's where I got the idea to create Fanbasis. I ended up finishing school early, moving down to Miami immediately to work on it full-time. This was in late 2020 when I really started the business. And basically, we created Fanbasis, which is essentially a marketplace where celebrities, athletes, influencers, and artists can sell experiences to their fans. So on our platform, you can get anything from a one-on-one video call with Dennis Rodman to a cooking lesson on how to make the perfect filet mignon with a master chef winner, or a follow back on Instagram from a reality TV star or social media influencer, a shout out on their story. And with some of the larger celebrities and athletes we work with, we do in-person experiences as well.
Oh, wow.
So
like meet and greets.
for example, meet and greets is kind of the most basic version of it.
Okay.
What we really want to do is create experiences that are once in a lifetime opportunities that money typically can't buy, right? So we have one going on where you can play golf with Michael Vick at Miami Beach Country Club.
Oh, wow.
Or we had one in December where a fan won the ability to watch the Titans versus Eagles game with a bunch of ex-Titans players and Pro Bowl winners like Chris Johnson, Pac-Man Jones, Landale White, Vince Young. And so those are the kinds of things that we're looking to do. We had one that a fan went and sat ringside at a WWE match and had lunch with Mandy Rose, the NXT champion at that time. So really exciting and cool stuff. We have a bunch of unique things really planned out too. Realistically, we've made a tremendous amount of progress, especially in the last 6 to 7 months, and have organically blown up the brand. But kind of take a pause there.
Wow, this is epic. Let's backtrack for a little bit. At 14 years old, 14 years old with the idea of protein gum. Like that's not no typical 14 years old talk. What unfair advantages did you have that got you to be thinking at that level? Because most 14 years old want to just go play basketball or do something funny and just hang out with their friends.
Right.
What was different about you that got you to start thinking? Is it something that you inherited from your parents, or have you grown up around the type of tech space that where do you get this mindset from?
So I would say my parents definitely did play a role in it. My dad is a tech entrepreneur himself as well.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
I kind of grew up around that, and that's how I got into understanding that I like the business vertical in general, because I would be around him. And then also when I was even when I was 12 or 13 years old, during the summers I would help him out with his business and see at least just sit there and see kind of how he's making deals happen and stuff like that. And it was all really exciting to me. At the same time, I was also a huge fan of different tech companies like Apple, especially Virgin. Richard Branson's one of my biggest inspirations.
I'm super obsessed with this guy.
So I would watch all of his interviews. Same with Steve Jobs, and I really, the one thing that really stuck with me is what I found with all these, ultra successful entrepreneurs that have, not only started a company and made, anyone can go and make a couple $1,000,000 selling some random B2B software, but what these guys have done is really made a change in the world and changed
100%.
a whole industry, created new industries and verticals, right? Where the impact that they've made is permanent. And that's what was really exciting to me. It's like, okay, that's what I want to do,
Wow.
And what I realized is both of them, took the customer first approach, which I think a lot of companies don't really focus on as much. They're trying to just land as many contracts as they can, form as many partnerships as they can. But making sure the customers that you have are in love with the product that you've created and are coming back every single day is, the most important thing. So after we kind of, with Fanbasis too, found that product market fit of, hey, now we've got a ton of, customers that are purchasing experiences. I made the focus after that is how do we get these customers back in, right? Because when we first started, obviously we had to start somewhere. We only had 100 celebrities on our platform, or celebrities including athletes, artists. So every vertical we had maybe a dozen people, right? And if you come onto our platform, you might only know one or two people, or maybe no one, right? So people that were purchasing, they were purchasing because, say, an influencer that we have posts a TikTok or an Instagram story with the link to their page. Their fans will purchase, an experience from that page, and that was kind of where the cycle was ending. But now that we've got a couple thousand people on our platform and we have access to most celebrities, that's when I was like, okay, we need to focus on getting these customers back into the door. They obviously like the concept, and let's show them what other really cool shit we have going on. So that's where I was able to, in the last, this year alone, just year to date, we increased our customer retention rate by almost 1,000% from what it was last year.
Oh, wow.
Just by focusing on the customer experience, making sure the UX, user experience was phenomenal. From every single step of the way, from as soon as they click on that link in the bio and go, oh, what's Fanbasis? Let me check it out. And we've organically growth hacked this whole business to where we're doing pretty solid, numbers right now. And we spend $0 on actually marketing our platform. Everything is completely organic.
Wow.
All of our growth, all the celebrities we have on our platform, all the stars we have, all the events we've done has been completely, with zero cost of goods on any of that.
Wow.
So, taking unique social media strategies, leveraging the power of the brands of the people that we bring on to acquire more talent as well, and things of that nature have helped us really grow. And at that point too, that's when it really made sense. Okay, let's start focusing on the customer experience as much as possible, because we have, we want to create every fan that purchases from us. We want them to be, talking about Fanbasis with people that they're around. And with the nature of our business, where if someone buys a virtual meet and greet with, Ric Flair, they're going to go and tell all their friends about it, right?
100%.
So if it's a good experience, they'll recommend their friends to buy it from us and check it out too. So that's kind of the model we did to really growth hack our business to this point so far. And now we're about to spend a lot of money, marketing the platform going forward.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's epic, man. A lot of exciting stuff. One of the things that comes to mind, right, just listening to you, it's like, okay, you have been in a product page since you got out of high school. You had the unfair advantage of working inside a venture capital firm that is, where they pretty much break down a startup and see if it's worth investing into. So you had that unfair advantage, and it helped you work and launch your company, right? But imagine somebody that doesn't have, like, number one, didn't have the unfair advantage of having entrepreneurs, like parents that are tech founders, to get the initial bite of the bug, right? Creation, and they have an idea. They have an idea. It's like, okay, I think this idea is, because a lot of people have ideas, but only one out of every 10,000 or however many would ever materialize themselves to something substantial. How would you if you was to share with somebody something?
What's the way to get there after you have the idea? I have a great idea. Exactly. What do I do next? Yeah, 100%. And I've been mentoring a couple of startups too that are, some of them for free. Some of them have brought me on as, official advisors to kind of help them with that. I've got the idea. What do I do next? So I'll tell you, if you're a first time, founder and you have an idea, this is basically, the first few things you want to do. First thing is, after you got an idea, do market research, create a market research document, fill it up with 15 or 20 pages of market research. Every single competitor in the space, go through the interviews that their founders have had, especially all the direct competition, right? Figure out the timeline of that business. For example, with Fanbasis, our biggest player in the space was Cameo. I saw what the CEO of Cameo did from day one to where they're at now and the whole journey, because gives you a lot of insight. They do interviews like this where
100%.
My competitors 3 years from now are going to be looking at what interview did Fanbasis founder do, and what information can we get out of that, right? Because I just provided a lot of information on how we've gone to our point. So that's kind of leveraging the information that's readily available to you to help you form your own business strategy. And by no means am I saying go ahead and look at what they're doing and copy what they do. That's not at all what I'm saying. It's figure out what they're doing and see how you can do it better, and get creative, think out of the box to create your own unique strategies that builds a value proposition and a moat around not only your brand and your product, but around your strategy itself. So that it's not something where every investor is going to ask you, why can't someone else go and replicate this product? And you go, these are the 4 or 5 things we've done. This is why no one can replicate the strategy that we have and get growth as quickly as we have. So first thing is market research as much as possible. After that, second step is the business plan. Find a business plan template on Google, and basically fill it up. What's the marketing strategy going to be? What's your business model? What's your competition landscape look like? And basic, 10 things about the business that basically create a layout for execution. I will guarantee you that this business plan is not going to, your business is not going to go according to your business plan. A lot of shit is going to change. You're going to have to pivot some stuff. But this is where, in that process itself of creating the plan, you come up with a million new ideas on, okay, this is how we're going to have to do it. You'll have to do a little bit of research too on certain steps, and you'll learn new things. So it's you essentially use it as a learning process. And that's that way too. As a founder, you really understand your idea and what your goals are going to be. You set initial timelines for yourself, metrics, things of that nature, so that you have some sort of roadmap to kind of stay a part of. Now, after that, that's where, it kind of depends on each separate case, right? Now you've got a business plan, you have an idea of, okay, if I'm going to an investor, I can share that with them, say, this is what we're going to be doing. Ideally, if you can create a pitch deck too. Now there's a ton of different, free softwares utilizing AI where you can, feed your business plan in there and someone will create a pitch deck for you instantly. Ideally, that's something you can use when you're early on, but having a deck is also nice just for investment purposes if that's kind of what you want to do. If you're starting a tech company, most likely you're going to have to take investment. If you're just a first-time founder, you haven't had a business before, unless you've already got access to a lot of capital. That way, in that sense, you can do it yourself. And the next step is kind of doing that MVP launch, right? Okay, I've got the idea now. Now let's get a bare bones version of the product ready. For us, what I did, remember I told you I did, interviewed over 100 people. What we did was set up basic websites for each one of those, a couple of those people, right? A handful of them. Where on Fanbasis, we've created a marketplace, right? But I said, okay, the inherent product that we're selling is experiences with these stores. Now, let's see if people even want to buy these experiences with the stores. So that's what we did. We set up these bare bone websites where people can go and just, on a Shopify store, purchase an experience from someone, and we'll do all the fulfillment manually. It doesn't have any of the bells and whistles that our actual product does. But that way we're like, okay, now we know that our product works. People actually want to purchase this. If we do it properly, our sales will, really increase and we'll get a lot more people. So next thing is creating an MVP. Do it as in the most cost-efficient way possible. That way you can figure out, if something. Sometimes you have an idea, and I've had this too happen to myself, where I have an idea that I think is really going to work, and I start testing it out, and I realize, oh, maybe the problem there isn't as big as what I thought. And the last thing you want to do, the reason a lot of startups fail, over 85% of startups fail. The number, if you look it up, is going to say 93%, but it's realistically like closer to 85%. Of startups fail is because either they, are entering a vertical that's too crowded, or their solution is a solution to a problem that is not as big of a problem as what they thought it was going to be. And it's, and if you create a company in a crowded vertical, that's probably the same exact reason that didn't work out, right? 100%. There's already solutions to the problem that you're trying to solve. So it's basically, the MVP will allow you to understand if that, and I'm sure you know this as well. 100%. You've done it yourself. The MVP is where you can really go, and it's it's an exciting period too, because if it really works, you're like, shit, like let's go. Now it's time to really get it going. And at that point, after you have the MVP, it really depends. Do you have a tech product? Do you have a CPG brand? Do you have an e-commerce store? Kind of whatever the situation is. That's when you really go and build the real product that you have. If it makes sense, if you're starting, a marketplace, for example, you're going to need a lot of capital to be able to develop that marketplace.
100%.
Not everyone has their, a team that they can rely on, or has even had experience with building out tech. And, it's a learning process. If I started Fanbasis from scratch today, I've been working on it for 3 years. I think I can get all the progress that we've achieved in 3 years, done within 8 months, just because of the experience that I've gained, the network that I've built out from it, relationships I've formed, and mainly is just going through that process and seeing like there's a huge learning curve when you're building out a product in a vertical that you haven't really explored prior to that.
100%.
So that's kind of I'd say the first few steps.
This is like literally like a roadmap from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Another question that came to mind when you was going through all of this is that most oftentimes the people with the ideas are the people that doesn't have resources to even get things off the ground. Mm-hmm. Have you encountered like people, or have you been a part of an acquisition where you feel like, okay, somebody have a bare bone idea that was able to license out what trademark and turn it into cash for themselves and let the other person run with the idea, or that is not something you came across with?
So no, I 100% have, and even when I was working in VC, we invested in companies that were started like that with a founder that had no resources available to them, and they figured it out. And that's something that I will respect more than anything, because the entrepreneurial journey is not easy by any means whatsoever.
100%.
And especially for I definitely had an advantage. I had a very solid education and a background, and advisors that I could rely on to help me make key decisions. A lot of people don't have access to that.
100%.
But at the end of the day, today in 2023, there's more resources available to people than there ever have been.
100%.
If you have an idea and you really genuinely haven't had any experience in business, most people, there's 3 types of founders essentially. Especially when you look at it from a venture capital angle, mm-hmm. The founder that you're looking for the most is the person that's exited 3 companies already successfully.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't even give a shit what the idea is. We're going to give you money because we know it's going to work.
Yeah.
Right?
You're betting on the horse.
You're betting, yeah, exactly. You're betting on the jockey.
On the jockey.
Yeah. The second is someone that, and this is a lot of cases of very successful companies, usually in the SaaS space, these are the founders, or they worked for a company, for Oracle, Google, Amazon, and they identified a problem in the vertical that they were working in and go, okay, I'm going to leave this job to create a company that solves that problem. And then they half the time end up selling it back to the company they work for. But a lot of the times, they just get a bunch of, monthly or annual recurring contracts, and they create a SaaS company out of it, or a B2B company. And, those are, and, a lot of the cases too, it's just, people that were working for a business, identified a problem, and they go, okay, I'm done with my job, I'm going to start my own thing. And the timing all works out, and they founded a product. The third kind of person, and this is the one that's most respectable, is someone that really just, hadn't had much prior experience, but they're just internally are very smart individuals, mm-hmm. and they've got those entrepreneurial instincts, and they, took a product from 0 to 100 and were able to scale it up themselves. Now, if you don't have, that background, and you really need like more education on, okay, I have this idea, what is the next step? What I would say is apply to as many accelerators or incubators as you can. Where, if I was in a position where I didn't know what the steps were, and I didn't have that experience from when I was 14 years old and 16 years old, I think that would have made the most sense for me. Where then you have a whole network immediately, and you have to give up a little bit of your, business.
Equity, yeah.
But a lot of the times, like for example, with Y Combinator and Techstars, they'll make an investment into your company too. So you're getting access to capital as well. And then on top of
experience resources as well.
Exactly, they'll help you find the next team members you have. So I'd say for people that really have an idea, they want to do it and don't know what to do, that's the best thing to do. Another thing I also think is important is, and it's not something that's easy, is before you start an idea, try to figure out a way to have some sort of cash flow coming in from other businesses, creating an agency, or something of that sort, providing value to people in one way or the other. That way. You're not freaking out every single day because you're like, how am I going to put food on the table? And a lot of the reasons people, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that have ideas of what they want to start, but they're unable to do so because, they have too many responsibilities, financial commitments, and are unable to, take that leap because it would be risking too much. Obviously for us right now, we're both living by ourselves in Miami,
100%.
and we have enough resources at our disposal. We don't have that many responsibilities besides building our businesses, right?
Yep.
I don't have a family to take care of at the moment,
Same.
so it makes it a lot easier for me to say, okay, I can try something out for 3 years. If it doesn't work out, I'll figure it out. I'll do something else.
Exactly.
A lot of people don't have that luxury, so figuring out a way to keep a cash flow stream. A lot of people that have started companies that I've worked with too, especially on the VC side of things. So like they started their company while they were at their job, and they would, it's a grind. And anyone that thinks like, is built into that 9-to-5 mentality will never make it. It will never work. You can't do that. It just won't work. You need to be so passionate about your idea that it keeps you up until 3 a.m. and you're excited to work on it. And it really pays off when you see the traction and the progress, and you see customers coming in, using your product, giving you testimonials, saying, "I love what you've built." It's really rewarding, and that that at least for me really motivates me to keep building,
100%.
growing it, right? And it takes a while to get there. Like there's been for every company that I've ever started, everything I've started, like there's a huge startup period, and in that time it's a struggle, and you go, "Why am I doing this? Do I is this even going to work out? Did I just burn a year of my life?" And those thoughts will come. It's just staying persistent, and if you understand and you truly believe in the idea, most likely it will probably work. Getting that market research, if you do all the right steps and you actually validate it, and it's not just going on your gut, then I would say all you really need to do is stay dedicated to it and be persistent. If you have a job at this moment, start a company in your free time. From your 9 to 5, from 6 to 3 a.m. you should be working on this idea until you get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm ready to take this leap. I know this is going to work. I've validated it. Creating the early steps I just outlined, like the business plan, the market research, the deck, like that's all stuff that you can do in your free time. You're just not like, I'm saying go and secure 1,000 clients while you're working a 9 to 5 at the same time. It's get that bare bone product made, get something working, and then you can go and take that leap. And at the end of the day, you are taking a risk. Don't get me wrong. Every
business is a risk.
They're all risks. That's why venture capital itself is, you make, the firm I was working at, they make 10 bets a year, and they assume 9 of them are going to fail, but they want that one that's going to be a home run, right?
Yep.
That's kind of how it works. And obviously, if you got that foundation and you really do believe in the idea, and something you're passionate about, you have to build out a team that also believes in that same vision that you have. They need to believe in you as a leader. And if you don't have, not everyone has that kind of personality where they can be a leader, right? Some people are, you might just be a tech nerd and you have an idea, and you need to find some CEO who will get your whole team believing in your vision for the product, and everyone's working towards the same exact goals. Everyone's motivated by the same thing, and that's an extremely important part of the process too.
Wow, this is like a kind of a unique type of podcast, right? Because every single person we have I've had on the podcast so far is like business, actual like digital marketing, solar, this, but tech product, which is like my line. It's always been incredible to have a conversation with somebody that is in that vertical. And if you're talking to somebody that doesn't understand product, you show them a product, it's like, okay, how long you been working on this? 2.5 years. And how much have you made? 0. And they're like, probably need to do something else. Just listening to you, like it gives me like a great perspective and understanding of like, if you believe in it, just keep going. No matter
exactly.
No matter what how long the journey is. When you believe in the destination, you're never going to quit.
Absolutely. And, I was actually, speaking with a buddy of mine yesterday. He's 21 years old, probably the wealthiest 21-year-old kid I've ever met in my life.
Wow.
And absolutely killing it.
What industry is it in?
So is in the e-commerce and agency, industry. He's got a marketing agency. one that I'm going to be referring you over to.
Oh, nice.
And he also creates a bunch of e-commerce stores. And we had the same conversation with him where he's obviously ultra successful at what he does, especially for his age. He's in the 0.0001%.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, like this will make me 20 or 30 million bucks over the next couple of years if I keep sticking with this. But he's like, how do I get to the next level? And he's realizing too now. He's like, cash flow is amazing, but where's the value that you can generate? And where's the real exit value coming from? And the only way to really do that is to go into the startup space. Like you can have an agency and look, maybe you'll get it to 100K in profit a month or even $1 million in profit a month. But after after a while, like what's the next step there? There's only so much you can evolve. And when you go to sell it, you're getting maybe a 2x or a 3x on your, EBITDA.
Yeah.
Where with the startup, my company, we raise money at a 10x value, 10x of our, year-long revenue. Yeah, exactly. So, when it comes to the long game there, the only way to really achieve like true, wealth, and that's obviously a relative term to anyone that you speak with.
100%.
You speak to a homeless man, they're going to say that having $1,000 is being wealthy in your bank account. You speak to someone that sold their company for 50 million bucks, they're probably going to think that they're poor.
Yep.
And because they're hanging around with a bunch of people that are worth the billions of dollars. So it's all relative, but when you really go to achieve that true wealth, and it really depends on the ambition you have. I think that's the most important thing, and I think that's what most people, 99% of people in America lack, and that's why I really connect with people well when they have same kind of vision for their life and the ambitions of what it is. Even if I meet someone that's completely broke right now and I see that they have that ambition there, and that's most of the people that I mentor myself because I want them to succeed. I know they're going to make it eventually because they have the vision for it. They're going to keep working for it. Even if it takes them 10 tries and they fail 10 times in a row, eventually they'll get there.
100%.
That's, at the end of the day, that's all it's about. And if you really want to, create something that's massive, like what I was saying before, like that changes the way, people do things, changes the way the world works. The only way to do that is by creating like a legitimate startup that you can scale to, have millions and millions of people using your platform, and that way you've created a real brand around yourself.
100%. I'm originally from West Africa, right? When I came to the state and started everything from marketing, seeing how you can leverage other people's skill and increase your product line, your service line. And first time tapping into development, I'm like, okay, if I have this incredible team, what can I do? Because I believe that if you want to create that impact and the wealth that we are talking about, you need to have something that can be evaluated at 10x minimum if you exit. And that's software. So in 2019 is when I first committed to software. And I'm on my fourth software.
Yeah,
fourth software, and every single one of them, like one of the first one is count books, accounting and inventory tracking. I worked on it for like a year and a half, and I hit a roadblock because there was products that was out there much better than my product.
It was too saturated of a space.
Yeah, it's too saturated of a space. QuickBooks was pretty much doing literally what I wanted to do, right? So you go through those journey, and it takes a lot of resilience to keep at it. Yeah. Some product you think it's going to be done in a year, and it's end up 2 years, 3 years, and it's still not done. Yeah. How have you had this type of delay in let's say extension in delivery, product delivery? Absolutely. How did you deal with those situations? Absolutely. Every single product I've ever worked on, if a development team gives you a timeline, you add at least 50% extra to it at the bare minimum. At the bare minimum. Yeah. Even with Fanbasis, when I first went to launch our launch our app or our website, after we did our MVPs, the development team said, okay, in 6 months we can get you a marketplace that's built out, two-sided marketplace where users can do all the features that you guys have imagined. We had a good amount of features, don't get me wrong. We've built out the largest tool set for monetization of any platform on the internet. Wow. Basically these developers were saying, okay, this is my first time working with this team. They're saying, okay, it's going to take 6 months. Ended up taking over a year. Obviously, some things factor into it. You get new ideas for stuff you want to add. You want to pivot to some aspects of the product a little bit. 100%. But at the end of the day, the delays are very frustrating, and it's hard when when you are waiting on your product to be built to
start, progressing the business in other ways. It's hard to make a partnership with a different firm or with an agency or a management firm, especially in our case, when you don't have anything to really show them besides, a couple of screenshots and mock-ups of what you want to get built. So it's tricky, and navigating it, I would say, is like do everything in your power to grow the business in whatever other ways you can. For us, for example, is I created like a wait list of beta users, and I created demand for the product in that way, saying, hey, we're going to be launching this product. We're making it invite only to a couple of people for when we first launch it, and that way I'm getting the supply side of our marketplace excited about it and built out. So that's kind of what we did. So then when we launched, we already had 25 people that were excited to use the platform that we launched with.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of, that's what I would say. But it's tricky. Like, you're going to face delays. And honestly, with most things that you do, you face delays. Now, what I will say, and with relationships that I formed where, we were the underdog and we were the smaller company and they were giving us, a chance to prove ourselves as Fanbasis, I would say make sure that none of the clients you work with ever think of your company as someone that's going to be a delay. For us, for example, the first big athlete that we got on our platform was Dennis Rodman. And, that was a partnership. We partnered with the largest sports memorabilia wholesaler outside of Fanatics in the US. And they basically have relationships with, hundreds of athletes in the NBA, MLB, NFL, and are doing signings with them for all the sports memorabilia 7 to 10 times a week. And they have relationships, and basically we partnered up there where I said, hey, you've got relationships with all of these athletes and celebrities and artists that you do signings with. You make a killing doing your own vertical. What if you can expand your revenue streams and leverage those relationships that you have to make money off of digital experiences as well, utilizing our platform? And they go, yeah, okay, let's try it out. I'll give you one person. We built out a full website for them within 3 days.
Wow.
And they expected us to take about a month to do so. And we came, we got a whole website done for doing a sweepstakes with Dennis Rodman, where basically fans can enter for a chance to, have a steak dinner with him in Chicago. And did that in 3 days, got all of the marketing materials made, started, creating campaigns on social media platforms for advertising that, and basically went back to the partner that we have, who's, we're one of our closest partners now that we work with on a weekly basis, and said, hey, we're ready to go. We're basically going to be the most efficient team you've ever worked with in your life. And that's what locked it in for us. And that was huge for us too, because that created a massive snowball effect, especially on the athlete side, where we were able to leverage the name that now we have Rodman on our platform. We can get other athletes onto our platform as well.
100%.
So, that's what I would say is always, especially in situations where people, you're the underdog or you're a new company, over-deliver. Even when I worked, as an intern, I would over-deliver everything. If someone asked me for, a brief, half-page product or research on a company or something like that, I'm giving them a full 3-page report on every single insight that I can get in a quicker timeline than they ask for. Wow. And you have to, obviously be quick with the way that you think, and you have to be smart and strategic about things. But when you do that, people will always come back to you and always want to work with you. Even if you're trying to level up in your job and you're not ready to start your own business, take that perspective. Don't just do the bare minimum. That's something that I will never ever hire anyone to ever work for a company that I am a part of if that's the mentality. Every single person on my team works harder than what their job description entails. They do more than that. Everyone is always trying to come up with new ideas. We work as a team because we all have the same, we all have different skill sets. Everyone has their own specialized skill sets, which makes, the whole team structure so complementary to each other.
100%.
But at the end of the day, everyone still has that same level of ambition, same exact grind and hustle, and willingness to work, the motivation to do so. And that's what, one of my main values is. If I find someone that is an extremely hard worker, even if they're not, they don't have as many skill sets as the next guy, or, they aren't extremely qualified, I'll bring them into my business because I know they'll contribute value, or they'll
100%.
try their hardest to. And usually, anyone like that, you're able to figure out a way to have them work with you because they're willing to do whatever it takes. And that's what you really need as an entrepreneur of any sort. Even if, you don't need to necessarily be the guy that starts your own thing. Like, only a certain amount of people can do that, and you have to have a level of, ambition and a lot of the times experience to do so too.
And thick skin.
Yeah, it's thick skin. It's not fucking easy by any means whatsoever.
Crazy.
But like even my company right now, like we're doing extremely well. I still have not made a single cent out of this company for myself. All the money gets reinvested back into the business just to keep growing it and growing it. And I'll make money eventually when we exit,
100%.
and that's what will make it worth it.
100%.
But at the same time, I'm able to build my personal brand out of that. I'm connected with tons of other extremely successful entrepreneurs, either in my space or outside of my space, that come and call me up for advice because they know that I'm achieving a lot of success on what I'm working on. They want to hear new perspectives. Another thing I like to do, and something I would say to every single person as well that's watching this, is find ways to add value in whatever situation that you have that's not expected of you, right? So if I connect with someone for the most part, right? If I go and someone makes an introduction, say you introduce me to someone and I go and get a coffee with them or get lunch with them, right after that I will make 4 to 5 different introductions for them in whatever ways I think, hey, connect with this guy. Either they'll be able to help you out with your business, they can be a potential client for you, or you guys are both just working on cool shit or working in the same vertical. Just connect and see if you guys have mutual connections, and he can maybe do the same thing for you, right?
That's epic.
And that way, it's not even for the reasoning of, oh, now this guy owes me a favor. No. It's more of, if you keep doing that, it will always come around, and all it takes is one introduction to change your life. You meet one person, it changes your life.
100%.
You land one partnership, it changes your whole company's, trajectory. So, that's kind of, it takes one investor, one person to believe in you for you to really get to the next level there, and for you to be able to achieve and actually build out your dream.
100%.
So, that's something that I think, like, there's the thing that upsets me most about like what I see with people in America in general is like everyone gets so satisfied with what they do and so comfortable with what they're doing, and then you kind of get into that cyclical cycle of now you're living a life that's just the same exact thing on a day-to-day. You're not progressing that much in your career. Okay, maybe 5 years from now I'll get that promotion that I'm looking for and I make 20% more, but my employer is making way more money than just from me working there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, for every business I have employees as well, but I like to structure it in a way where everyone's eating at the same time. As the 100%. Business grows, they're motivated too because they've got a skin in the game of some sort.
Facts.
It's like you can't get comfortable with what you're doing.
No.
Even if I sell, when I sell Fanbasis for $500 million, I'm gonna maybe take a month to go and travel, and after that, I've got 10 ideas in my head of what I can do right afterwards.
100%.
It's always like you can't get comfortable, and at the end of the day, like obviously we're all working towards a goal of you want to have a great life for the family that you have in the future, for yourself. You want to be able to have the freedom to do. For me, I want to be able to do whatever I want. That's 100%. Why I want to create wealth. If I decide that I want to take a jet to Monaco right now, I want to be able to do so. Yeah. And it's everyone has their own different goals. If some people just want to travel the world, whatever it might be. But in order to do that, you have to also take a lot of risk and put in a tremendous amount of work. I mean, better than anyone. Like it's much easier to go and get a job and have your defined roles and make a certain amount of income that gets you to whatever basic lifestyle that you want to live and do the bare minimum there, than it is to go and say, hey, I'm going to start this and fail a bunch of times.
It's crazy. It's like willingly jumping into a ring to get your face punched over and over again.
Exactly.
Like when I sit down and think about it, it's all about impact, right? Impact and fulfillment. You can go get a job and make $10,000 a month or whatnot, live on $3,000 or $4,000 basic, and being like a regular person, right? But we often hear people say money is not everything, but I would love to hear that, somebody helped somebody that was
right.
in big trouble, like families that cannot have food or whatnot.
Absolutely.
And money is not everything, but it's saved people life trajectory.
you have the ability to do so if you
100%.
create wealth, right? And not only that, it's like in the process of, even not even creating wealth, it's just finding success. You can't be chasing wealth or else you'll never be successful. You have to chase the idea of success. Whatever you work on, for me, it's like whatever I work on, I want it to be, gold. So after I've started 5 different companies, anyone that sees me, speaking or sees me, starting a new company, they'll all want to be in on it because they know whatever you work on is they'll figure out a way to find success, right?
100%.
That's like the example I was giving you earlier, the venture funds. Like their ideal person to invest in is that serial entrepreneur who sold 5 companies already because they know that guy's going to figure it out.
100%.
And when you find success and you have that ambition to really create something of your own in whatever vertical it is, whatever capacity it is. I'm not saying everyone needs to have the idea of, let me go and create the next Amazon or the next Google, but even if you want to go and create, your own smaller business of a sort, or an e-commerce brand or whatever it might be, it's, you just need to focus on how can I make this as successful as possible. And throughout that process, you'll gain a network of people that are like-minded doing the same thing. When you're providing value for others, you'll get introductions. And then when you actually do have wealth and you have exited or, created a tremendous amount in profits, now you've got a network of people that you can, leverage to achieve whatever the next goals you have are.
100%.
Or, help other people in that sense. And you see, billionaires doing it all the time. I mean, 50% of them are doing it for the tax write-off, 50% of them actually care. And, it's a goal of mine too. I was talking about it the other day, where I want to create like a charity that eventually, a whole nonprofit that, serves different kinds of initiatives and populations for, like what we were mentioning, like those people that have ideas and they want to get their, feet off the ground. It's like, I love seeing that stuff kind of happen because, people are getting kind of more and more out of that comfort zone and out of their comfort zone. They're willing to take that risk to go ahead and build something of their own and achieve, their own goals.
100%. Like one of the things that is less heard about is the challenges and the challenges in entrepreneurship, because people only see the lifestyle, the beautiful apartments, the cars, the luxury trips, but they don't get to see what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like, have you had, like me, I personally had a moment that I would just sit and I don't know what's happening. And my tears are just running sometimes because of you feel like you're almost there.
Like about to combust.
Yeah. And like literally you're almost there and there's no gas in the tank, nothing at all. And you cannot, you just need 1 more mile.
That's what you got to remind yourself of. Yeah. You're always, most of the time you're always 1 step away from getting to that next level.
Yeah.
And if you're a person that never gets satisfied, you'll always have that stress, which is good. It fuels you, to an extent. It's really stressful sometimes. You feel like jumping off the balcony half the time.
Yeah.
But when you do get those wins, it feels way better.
What's funny? The idea, it's like I tell everybody, right? Like, building solid relationship is very important because you have to have something, a purpose much bigger than a much bigger purpose of you behaving in a certain way than just because of yourself, right? If you have a great relationship with your family and a lot of friends that you have great relationship with, and you often think about what situation they would be in if they realize that you did something that like jumping off the balcony, for instance, right? How would their life be? Every single person in your life, right? And always, I was talking to a friend earlier about that aspect. You just don't get to make a decision just because for your
it's selfish.
It's selfish. You have to think about everything else that is concerned. But I want you to touch a little bit on was there any moment where you feel like literally this is like the last shot, like Elon Musk fourth SpaceX launch, right? Where he said that was the last one. If that have went bust, there was no other option available.
Yeah.
Right. Have you had those moments where you feel like, okay, this is this is the last try. This is like everything, all the resources, all the chips are on the table. This need to work, or
1,000%, yeah. Actually happened, beginning end of 2021 for me.
wow.
Where we basically were like running out of funding. We built our MVP. We're struggling to find like product market fit. We still only were able to get 100 something celebrities on our platform, and we were doing like less than 5,000 a month in revenue.
Wow.
Right? And that was literally less than a year and a half ago. And we were running out of money in the bank, and I was like, damn, this is, got 2 weeks left, and then that's going to be it. Like, we can't even pay the bills to function anymore. But it's more about, like, keep on remembering, you're only one step away. Can you leverage your network? How can you be smart about it? And, I was able to leverage my network to get, that next call and find that investor that believes in the vision, and then they kept the company afloat. And now they're going to be the ones that get rewarded the most out of it, too.
100%.
So it's it will happen. I think with any venture that you start, it'll probably happen, and especially if you're a first-time entrepreneur, like it's almost guaranteed, like you will get that at some point.
100%.
Like I've met with over 100 different entrepreneurs and founders, and everyone says the same thing. Like they've all been there. Everyone's like number one advice is keep going, keep grinding, keep working at it, and eventually it will happen. Like it will. Like you're guaranteed to find success if that's what you're really looking for. It's like if you're looking for cash, like you're not guaranteed to find that. You'll take shortcuts to do that. You want to create something that like from my perspective at least, everything that I create, I would want my personal brand to be associated with it. To the point where people go, okay, wow, I just used Fanbasis. That's Yash's thing. This is awesome. If you're going to just get as many clients as possible and create quick cash, that's all you're going to get. It's quick cash. And like I said, it's all relative. At the end of the day, what are you looking to achieve? If it's wealth, even the concept of wealth is all relative to what your upbringing was, what you saw. Did you see that you saw a guy driving that BMW 3 Series, and you're like, oh, when I'm 50 years old, I want that. Let me figure out how I can get 50 grand made so I can go and buy that car or buy these shoes, buy that Gucci belt or whatever it is, right? And that limits you so much, and also like it's bad for your mental perspectives on things, where it limits the amount you'll actually achieve because you're only focusing on these like short-term materialistic goals. And at the end of the day, your goal has to become the best version of yourself, achieve as much as your potential is. Or you're going to be stuck in that cycle, and you might might be able to buy that BMW, but you're never getting that Rolls Royce. It's not going to happen. It depends on what you want. And some people, they get happy with just living a basic life, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's like if you, are living that basic life and you do have goals, and you said, oh, when I was 18 years old or when I was in college, like I dreamt of, doing this or starting this. Those are the people that should really have this message resonate with them. 100%. And think about it, like there is a way to get there. You just actually have to actively take steps to do so. And you will get stuck if you're not taking those steps to do so. Like being comfortable is so easy. It's the easiest thing in the world. 100%. You get set up with whatever role that you have, and that's it. I had to get my car towed the other day. And
really?
I had a flat tire to get my car towed, and I, basically I was just like, yo, I want to get this taken care of as soon as possible. I hopped in the truck with my tow truck driver and said, just bring me with you. I want to get this resolved in the next 20 minutes, right? And on the way there, he was asking me about what I do. I showed him, all the businesses that I have, and he was like, damn, man. He's like, I've been thinking about starting my own trucking company instead of working for this one. He's like, I know exactly how it works, and he's 2 years older than me. And that's what he, that's what he took as the biggest motivation, was like, wow, you're 23. He's like, I didn't even think this was possible to do, when you're younger. And he was like, all right, like, he's like, this is it. I sat with him for 20 minutes after that. I helped him set up his LLC while we were in the car. I had my computer on me, helped him set it up, and showed him a roadmap. I was like, look, if I was in your position, this is what I would do to make it happen. And he's been calling me every week, giving me updates on his journey, and it's exciting.
Powerful.
Yeah, so it's everyone can do it. Everyone's, most people have that mentality and like have those goals within them. They just haven't taken that leap.
It's scarcity, right? Like this is, when somebody asks me what's your purpose, we always have the question of purpose, right? I'll tell people my purpose is to inspire and empower. Inspiring people with my story, empower them with my product.
Right.
Right. And what you just mentioned right now is that you give that person a story. Their story.
Exactly.
And they're like, wow, it's possible. Like I tell people, like I have a concept that I call the stop loss, right? What's your stop loss? In the market, your stop loss is determining how long you're willing to stay in the market, right?
Right.
When your stop loss is low, really low, it gives you a lot of chances, like give you more chances to stay in the market for longer. Right. And when I came to this country, I set that up as my stop loss.
Yeah.
Being in the country, number one, not speaking the language. Number two, not knowing anybody.
That's crazy. That's so tough.
Number three, like with $2,000 on my name.
Yeah.
That's like my stop loss. I step in this country, and I set that up as my stop loss.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm never going to go back to, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm floating any day. It doesn't matter what happened, I'm floating.
Right.
Because now I speak the language. I know a lot of cool people, powerful people, and we have a lot more cash.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's like whatever shows up in front of you, just go ahead and venture into it.
You got that biggest, underdog story that you can get. It's the American dream, essentially, of you came here with looking for opportunity, did whatever it took.
Right.
You told me you struggled. You.
100%.
Yeah.
And when you see, people think that it's not possible, right? And what I consistently want to share throughout these interviews and podcasts is that it doesn't matter where you are. You're not going to be as low as where I was. Because you're in the country and you speak English. It's,
at the end of the day, the main message I'm going to give to anyone listening to this is don't be a lazy fuck. Don't get comfortable. Work and be strategic. You had, you had that vision and you were able to, you did whatever it took to make it happen.
100%.
And you're still working towards it.
100%. And the thing about it is that people say that, oh, your life is good. But according to whose perspective?
Exactly. It's all relative.
It's all relative. Because every single day you wake up and imagine you have like a project that you have worked on for the last 3 years and you had an opportunity to present it. Like one of my product Tao theme, I went to an event, I spoke at the event, I was speaking at the event to present the product, and 30 minutes before the event, my server crashed.
Right.
And you're gonna be on stage in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And they keep asking you for your slides. And there's no slide to show. So I just went up there and told them about my story. And guess what? That turned out to have a much bigger impact.
It probably worked better, yeah.
Right? And these type of things gonna happen to you. You're gonna find yourself in a situation where you feel like the odds are all against you. Anything you do doesn't it's just hard to have the breakthrough. But what happened a lot of time, we don't know enough to understand that might be our blessing.
Right.
That might be our blessing.
You might realize it a year later or 5 years later.
And the success that you was expecting, you was thinking about, that might have been your biggest downfall. Because that would have deviated you from the actual journey that's going to make you as successful and as fulfilling as your life can be.
Right.
So at the end of the day, when you think about your current situation, think about it as, don't let the current situation affect your mood, in the sense that when things are really, really good, you're all excited and you're all riled up, and you make irrational decisions.
Right.
I've done that in the past, right? And it costed me massively. And when things are not good, you crawl and you let yourself down because you don't feel motivated enough. You don't feel like you have the drive enough. You get crippled.
Yeah.
And it happened to me as well. So ultimately what you want to do is be able to center yourself no matter what are the circumstances you are going through. Try to stay centered as much as possible and always think about the end goal that you are expecting, right? And when you can stay in the end goal, there's Head Mallet, is it Head Mallet or Tim Grover said that if the end result, if you're obsessed enough with the end result, the process becomes irrelevant. I think it's Tim Grover. So keep your eyes on the end result and keep focusing on it. Whatever is happening on the sideline, like bad days, good days, just try to stay as focused as possible, and the breakthrough will eventually happen.
100% agree. 100% agree.
Bro, this is good. We can keep this going. let's wind it down a little bit.
Okay.
You know, like as an entrepreneur, you have your fair share of bad days. What do you do when you are in this type of, when you are having a day, right, that is not so good? What do you use as upliftment? Do you decide to like step away for a little bit? What do you do? Because I think it's something that a lot of people can really benefit from.
Yeah, so 100%, and it happens, probably once a month, if not more, where you have a day where like whatever relative perspective you have is going to shit, or you have 5 problems that appear out of nowhere. Your server crashes, and you have users that are trying to buy stuff, and you're like, what the hell am I going to do now?
Exactly.
And it's funny, like, one, what I always remind myself is, wow, it's half the problems that I have that come up are also blessings in disguise, because a year from now I would have killed to have a problem where I have too many users coming to my platform, and my app is crashing or not able to handle that load, right? So it's kind of remembering that aspect of it. And 2 is like, like things get frustrating and things get stressful a lot. It's like figuring out how you like personally can manage your stress well, I think is something that every entrepreneur needs to figure out. And it's not, there's no like framework for it. Like,
100%.
I have friends that go and like meditate every time they have, a problem. I have a friend that goes and puts on blindfolds and listens to an audiobook when they're trying to de-stress. For me personally, it's usually what I do is, I go and meet with my team if that's something that's possible. Get everyone on a call and say, hey guys, like, let's talk through this. Let's all brainstorm as a group, see what ideas we can come up with. Or in certain situations, if it's something that's more, reliant on myself to do that, either I go and just, wipe out the rest of my day. I'll move my calls and I'll whiteboard stuff that's, relevant to the situation at hand, and also just in general, like, let me whiteboard what our product roadmap's going to be and get myself excited and keep myself, extremely motivated for the future, and things of that nature. I think having trusted advisors is something that everyone needs to have. Experienced entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs that are willing to, help you out for free or even for advisory equity. Every single person I've ever brought on as an advisor that actually has equity in any of my businesses provided me with a tremendous amount of free value first before I gave them anything. They never asked for anything. If someone asked me for something, after they give me the very little bit, or they're like, oh, I'm this person, give me this before I do anything for you, I'll never work with them, because I know that's all they care about is
100%.
extracting value, right?
100%.
I want people that give value the same way that I do
100%.
to most people that I meet. I'll make, connections for free. Like I had a guy that I thought was my friend, friends for a while, that, he started making introductions for me, and then he's asking me for referral fees, which I was more than happy to give him. Don't get me wrong, like if you make, you help me with business, I'll always take care of someone. Like if you make an introduction and you don't even ask me for something, I'll still take care of you because you made something happen for me
100%.
and progressed my business and my career. I'll always take care of those people. Not because they're asking for it, just because to show them, I appreciate that. Yeah. But there's people that will go and, there's people that you think you're friends or are connections, and you figure it out quickly. As you work as an entrepreneur, I'm sure you you face several situations like this too, where it's like, all right, like, yeah, we can make this work this one time, but you're missing out on working with me and having this relationship with me in the long run, because I would have made you way more money when we would have worked together for a long period of time, right?
Short-sighted people.
Sure, yeah, and there's so many people, especially in Miami, dude. Like, so many people are short-sighted. Like, everyone is just trying to get to that next, step, or get that quick cash, or get that BMW, like what I was saying. It's a very materialistic place to live in, and most big cities are, LA, New York a little bit less, but there's still people like that there, right? And it's, I think the other thing is, like, an entrepreneur is like, figuring out the people that you're going to surround yourself with is extremely important.
100%.
I've had, so many different kinds of friend groups. I originally, because of, I moved around, I went to a bunch of different schools as well. I left midway through high school. I was in New Jersey. I came to Florida midway through high school, had to make completely new friends. After that, in college, a whole different friend group. And, what I've realized in that friend group I have right now, every single one of my friends that are close friends, like the people I'd say, hey, let's go grab dinner with, every single person has that same exact ambition and vision. And I think that is the most important thing, because
100%.
you know, I used to be even a little bit more comfortable when I had friends that were more comfortable too, and they were just, you know, their goals were so like short-sighted in a sense, and they're all looking to just do that next thing, but they don't have a vision for what they want their life to be, what they want their career to be, and they don't care about achieving, you know, true success for themselves. And I think that's the most important thing, is like just having the friends that I have right now has made my business more successful, not because of, you know, they've got connections that they've introduced me to or advice that I've gotten out of them. It's surrounding yourself with people that have the same mentality, where, you know, I'll go to St. Bart's for a weekend with them, or I'll go to Bahamas for a weekend with them. We're all grinding during the day. We're all bouncing ideas off each other's heads for completely unrelated businesses, and they hear me on a phone call and they're like, yo, like if I was you, I would go back to that client and say this, this, and this, and you might be able to, you know, close them. Or, you know, say I spoke to an investor and they're like, hey, what if you presented your ideas in this way? And it's not even that aspect of it. It's, you know, then after they give me that value, they go back to what they're doing and I can give them value as well. And it's not even like the concept of like bouncing ideas off of each other. It's just the fact that like everyone's working towards similar goals and has that same vision. And you see, you know, your friends start doubling the amount of money they're making, and, you know, and you're not getting jealous about that. You're getting excited because your friend group, we're all working towards the same goal. You know, as a group, we're all elevating towards, you know, something greater, to where we want to be. You know, all of our goals is finding, you know, we have extremely high ambitions, and finding, you know, ultimate success and maximizing the potential that we have. And it's like, you know, I'm someone that, you could call it, you know, even greed in a sense, but I think it's more of like, I'll never be satisfied with what I'm doing. Even if I sell my company for $1 billion, like I know that I can achieve more than that. Until I'm at that point, for my personal goal is I want to create a product. Like I always want to create a product that's dope. Like, you know, Fanbasis, like dope concept. Like whenever I tell someone you know, Fanbasis to go on my site, they're like, wow, this is sick. You know, that's kind of what I like, right? That's what I like to do. And I'll be satisfied eventually when I create a product that has changed the world and impacted the world in a way or another. Maybe with Fanbasis, I'm not solving, you know, the most desperate world's needs, but I'm doing something that's providing people with value, with lifetime experiences that they can have, memorable stuff, and it is changing people's lives in one way or another on a very
100%.
on a low level, you know.
No, it's pretty much not even on a low level, right? Like I use that concept a lot in business. Even imagine somebody that have worked in a business for 3 years, committed, but they just haven't made any money yet. They think they're negative. You're not negative, because that 3 years you could have been doing something else that is taking you on the opposite direction. So even if you are still in the position where you started, you have defined yourself as somebody that can stay focused and work on a product for 3 years, and that alone, it's exponential growth.
Exactly.
And that specific characteristic is going to lead you to more success eventually than 100%. What you could have possibly be doing if you wasn't doing that, right? The same thing goes to like if somebody's currently having a one in a lifetime experience right now with Dennis Rodman, they could have been doing something else that is impacting the world in a negative in a negative way.
Right.
And that right there is giving people like, who do you think somebody that just have an experience of their lifetime would go out and hurt somebody?
No, absolutely not.
They'll go out and tell people about it. Right?
Yeah.
And that's like spreading positive energy, and that's what saved the world from crime and everything else. There's an exponential aspect to it.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And you know, at the end of the day, you know, what I think, every single company that has been ultra successful, if you think Apple, you think Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Uber, what have they done inherently? If you break it down, right? Take off the face level of the face value of the product that they've built. They've made people's lives more convenient. 100%. That's what it is, right? They made it easier to do this or to do this. You know, before Google, people were reading books to find information out.
And one-line information.
Yeah, to get one line of information. I can't imagine doing that. I never grew up with that. That's what 100%. My parents did when they were in college. And that's crazy to me, you know?
Think about writing letters to people from the other side of the country.
It's insane, yeah. And, you know, like what we look at right now, 30 years from now, all the things that we think are high-tech and cool are going to be, you know, completely useless. And, yeah, they're going to be iterated 1 million times over.
100%.
And, you know, that's like, that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. If you want to create something that has like a ton of impact overall, like you're working on the coolest thing. I don't know how much you want to tell everyone about what you're working on.
Oh yeah, pretty much the main idea is that, like, I tell people this, right? If you, like, inconvenience, right? We have a lot of inconvenience. If you just move to a place, when I moved here, I didn't have a coffee table for 3 months because the other way I have to wait for it. How many furniture stores in Florida within a mile radius that can get me a table the same day?
Yeah.
So many. But there is no way you cannot get that anywhere in 2023. Can you believe that, right?
There's no place I can go on my phone right now besides Amazon, but that won't be localized. You're still gonna wait.
Localized, and it would take you maybe like 2-3 days. What if you need something for within the next, you have a guest coming and
you need something that day.
Exactly, right? So now the table is something that you can afford to wait. But what about the things that you cannot afford to wait? Like imagine we want to do a podcast right now. You're flying to Bahamas, and I couldn't get the mic to work.
Yeah.
So it's like I need a mic within 10 minutes. And that's the solution that we are working to provide, and you guys will get to see the follow-up to it.
What I love about it is you've taken something that's, this industry is like kind of new, right? Of like, the delivery that comes quickly. Like Amazon did that. They created Prime. That was Amazon Prime was the first iteration of that, right?
100%.
They broke open the market. Then you find companies like GoPuff, Instacart, Postmates, Uber Eats, right? That kind of, they say, this is working for Amazon. Let's redo this and refactor this model into these different verticals of just for food, just for snacks, whatever it might be, right? And you're basically taking that to the next level, saying, hey, you guys, made the market, and you guys got people to adopt and become users of this technology in a sense, or this product, and you got them. And the most important thing about what they've done for you is they've made users essentially addicted to that convenience, right? Like right now, if I'm ordering food, I can go on Uber Eats to get, a pizza in 20 minutes if I want to.
Exactly.
And it's crazy to me. If it takes 45 minutes, I'm going to get pissed off if it's at 20.
Exactly.
2 years ago. And Uber Eats, or 5 years ago, Uber Eats didn't exist, and I'm going to that actual location. It's going to take me an hour and a half to get my pizza.
Exactly.
And I was happy about it at that time. So now people are addicted to this concept, 100%. And you're able to, give them that even more instant gratification, which is why I think you're going to kill it with this.
Oh, thank you, man. And I'm glad we really get connected around this time, because things are about to really, really skyrocket. And
absolutely.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Guys, we can keep this going. Let me ask you about a couple of things. Are you a big reader?
I've been trying to read as much as possible recently. So not a big reader, but I'm trying to get to at least like a book a month,
Nice.
So, there's a lot of value you can get from reading about other people's experiences. I like to do, I've been listening to a lot more podcasts and audiobooks recently too, just in my free time or even while I'm doing work.
Nice.
Always inspires new ideas.
100%.
But it seems like I can tell you're a little bit of a big reader.
I'll read a book a week. Mostly like audiobooks. I have the physical copy and I have the audiobook. It's very easy to flip through. So I believe that books have given me a cutting edge and fair advantage. Being in a country in less than 10 years, from not speaking English to building what I've built, I believe that I owe most of it to reading. So I really, really have a personal connection with books, and I decided to do something special for every single one of my guests that come to the podcast. I want to give them access to my library, and they can pick up any book of choice.
Oh, yeah?
You are in for a treat. Look at the library and see what books connects more with you, and we're going to grab it. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up.
Sounds good. I appreciate that.
Let's do it. Let's pick up the book live. What do you see that attracts you?
What's the art of impossible?
The art of impossible is pretty much uplifting the limitation that we all create in our minds.
Okay.
Because there is a lot of things that, when you think about, when you tell somebody 500 years ago about something flying in the sky with a lot of people on it, it would
sound crazy.
It sounds crazy to them. It would sound impossible.
Yeah.
But today, It's possible for us.
Right.
When you think about like sitting here and talking to somebody in Africa, it seems impossible. If you tell somebody it's
150 years ago.
150 years ago, they would say it's impossible.
Yeah.
So right now, there's a lot of things that we see impossible. I was asking my friend, do you think that in a few years we'll be able to teleport ourselves? Like, I want to be in London in 5 minutes and be able to do so. And he looked at me like, no, bro, that's impossible. Like, we never know. If somebody was to tell you that you'll be able to speak to your mom and look at your mom throughout the screen, like 100 years ago, you'd be like, they're tweaking. Right? But today it's possible. I'm like, we never know.
Right.
So pretty much the concept of the art of impossible is uplifting that concept completely out of your vocabulary.
Right.
And anything
out of your mentality
perceive,
too.
Anything that you can think about is pretty much possible. So
that's a cool one. So actually, I want to ask you, based on the conversation that we had, on this podcast, what would you think is the best book in the library here for me to read?
This is a really, really, really great question. One lesson that I'm gonna share with you guys. I know we are facing backward, but I had, I don't remember exactly who I was listening to. Is like they often ask people, and that kind of fall in line with Fanbasis, right? They would ask if you get a chance to spend 1 hour with Elon Musk, what type of questions would you ask him, right? And look behind us. and people was like trying to come up, with the right questions. And they ask somebody, it's like, okay, what type of question would you ask to Elon? It's like, if I have Elon, I would just tell him my story and tell him based on his experience
what he
will do. And that he will find the best questions for you and he would answer the best questions for you. So that's what you did for me right now. And I literally have one book in mind. It's called Never Split the Difference, but by Tal Raz and Kip and Chris Voss.
Okay.
And this is pretty much everything about negotiation. I know you're gonna have a lot of conversation with people. And this book, trust me, it's a relationship builder.
Okay.
When it comes to like communicating with people, you let people have their way, right, in the conversation, but it's actually your way.
Right. You convince them that they're winning.
Yeah, you convince them that they're winning, but you are also winning. And you do that through understanding.
Never split the difference. I get it.
Never split the difference. You're not gonna split the difference. Chris Voss is a hostage negotiator.
Yeah.
And he have an incredible track record. Let's say there is people in the bank with a lot of hostage, telling that they need this money, they need a helicopter, they need all this stuff, or they're going to kill people. Yeah. He's the type of guy that would go talk to the negotiator. And this book, it's a game changer already in 2019. And trust me, it has made a big difference for me. So
okay, awesome.
Experience it. Thank you, bro. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely,
guys,
man.
I'm going to put Yash social media, fan base, and everything in the description, so you guys can go look into it. He's building some really cool stuff, and if you get an opportunity to be involved in any of his projects, you don't want to miss the opportunity. Go ahead and take advantage of it. Until the next one, share this video to anybody you think can benefit from it as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, we have a podcast version as well that you can listen on the go. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, we have a video version as well, so you can see me and Yash sitting here in the apartment, in the studio, just catching it up. Go enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye. Take care.
Take care.
Boom. Bro.
Awesome.
We knock it off the park.